of the owners of Global Communications Network and the operators of this radio station.
Today can be the turning point in your life by making a simple decision.
Fundamental questions of navigation. Where am I? Where am I going? And how do I get there from here?
I invite the leaders of our planet to ask themselves these three questions before they make any crucial decisions.
But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are.
We are all map makers.
We are in a time of transition.
If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going.
Our planet needs leaders who know where they want to go.
When we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Leaders who can see the big picture.
Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are.
Recognizing the psychological and the spiritual shifts and changes that need to be made, often from the inside to the outside.
To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm.
Complex journeys require navigation. The path to the truth is one such journey. This is your GPS. Hairstyling services provided by J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madera Street. Accessories provided by Chevette Williamson Jewelry. Standout jewelry for standout women. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. I am your host, Michelle Malcolm, and as always, it's a pleasure to be in your company today. Thank you so much for tuning in and making GPS a part of your afternoon. Now, you know the drill. Today is Wednesday, and every Wednesday we look at a topic that is relevant to your health. We call it Wellness Wednesdays around these parts. And it's an opportunity for me to share with you some of the knowledge that I have attained in my journey of becoming a certified holistic health coach. And not just up to the point of me taking the course to become a health coach, but I continue to learn. Um, the Institute of Holistic Health has continuing classes, continuing ed classes that we are required to be a part of, where we continue to learn about the human body and what makes it work and what doesn't make it work, and how we can better help clients to achieve optimal health simply by improving their nutrition, helping to show them that they can be well just by making some simple changes to their diet, by incorporating a healthier lifestyle, which includes mindset, eating well, getting sufficient rest, all of the, things that we've come to understand that help people to be better. And one of the main points of what we do as holistic health coaches is we help people to understand that nutrition, macro and micronutrients, are extremely important to good health. But there's something that we need to understand, and that is pretty much what this show is about today. There is a saying that is very popular: you are what you eat. We've all heard that multiple times before. Oh, you need to put that donut down because you are what you eat. But the truth be told, that's not exactly true, because you can be eating well, but still not benefiting from the good things that you are eating. And that's because of the topic of today's show. It's not so much that we are what we eat, as much as it is we are what we absorb. So, on today's show, we are going to be talking about the importance of absorption for overall health. Now, what is absorption? Well, everything that you take into your mouth, it is the role or the responsibility of your digestive system to absorb the nutrients from the thing that you put into your mouth so that those nutrients can be put to good work to help your body to perform the way it was designed to perform. The problem is because so many people are walking around with a damaged immune system, a damaged digestive system, I should say. They're not absorbing anything good or bad. They're just not absorbing. So that means that they're not able to benefit from the nutrients that they are getting. And to make matters worse, many people are eating poorly to begin with. So their diets already had a limited amount of nutrients in them. And with that limited amount, they're still not getting anything or very little from the limited amount that they're consuming because of a malfunctioning digestive system. And so at the center, at the epicenter of many of our health woes is your digestive system, your gut. And if you have a damaged gut, then that means that you are not absorbing the way you ought to be absorbing. And there is no way for you to achieve and maintain good health if you cannot or are not absorbing nutrients. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. You need to understand that the nutrients are to your body like gasoline is to your car. You can get the fanciest car in the world or the cheapest car known to man. It doesn't matter if you are driving a Kia or a Maserati. Doesn't matter. Bottom line is they both need gasoline to operate. And if you are driving either the Kia or the Maserati and not replenishing it with gasoline in the tank, then eventually you're going to run out of gas. And as fancy or as basic as your vehicle may be, it will not function the way it was designed to function because it ran out of gas. Well, a lot of people right now have run out of gas. And so their bodies have stopped functioning properly. Some are operating on half tank. Some are operating on quarter tank. Some the engine light is on. And some hitting hardy. But they keep going and going and going and going, not realizing the ongoing damage that they're doing to their bodies by not ensuring that they are able to absorb nutrients, because those nutrients are the gasoline for the car. And it doesn't matter what health issue you are facing today, I can tell you that absorption is a big part of the problem. That's where it begins. Because if you're unable to get the nutrients that your body requires, then you're going to start to experience ill health, a degeneration of the body, which we also call disease. So I thought that today we would focus strictly on absorption, the importance of it, what you may or may not be doing to hinder absorption in the body, because there may be some things that you're doing quite innocently, not understanding that what you're doing is damaging the body. So let's set the basics. There are some things that you're going to learn during this show that you simply cannot do if you intend to have a good, healthy digestive system, which by extension means good, healthy absorption. And we're going to break those down for you during this show. Now, the clips that I'm playing today were taken from a series called Serial Killers, in which Dr. Joel Wallach was interviewed at length about this topic. And so everything that you will hear today comes from that lecture. I highly recommend, you can actually find it on YouTube, that you listen to it in its entirety. And it's not serial, Serial, but it's cereal spelled like cereal that you eat, called Serial Killers. Very fascinating lecture among many that Dr. Joel Wallach has done. Actually, it's an interview where somebody is interviewing him about this important topic. So let me throw out the telephone numbers at the outset in case you have a question and you want to reach out and call. The telephone numbers to call are 3260271, 3260271, 3260272, 3260272, and the WhatsApp line to send us a text message only is 801-0271. 801-0271. So, where do we begin? Well, you have to understand that a big part of this question of absorption has to do with balance of your digestive system. It requires balance in order for you to be able to healthily absorb nutrients. And a part of that balance has to do with pH levels in the body. You hear us talk often about pH balance. Well, this is extremely important when you're talking about the whole process of digestion, because there's certain parts of the body that need to be highly acidic, certain parts of the digestive system that need to be highly acidic in order to function properly. Specifically, your stomach. Your stomach should be a bag of very strong acid. And you're going to learn during this show that if you're having issues with things like acid reflux, then that is not a sign that you have too much acid in your stomach, but it's a sign that you have weak acid in your stomach. And unfortunately, the approach of most doctors is to put you on a product that blocks your stomach's ability to properly produce acid, which may give you some temporary relief, but is actually making the problem worse. Beside that, many of you have been put on a specific diet or given specific instructions as to a particular mineral that you should not consume or you should cut back on, which is absolutely key to maintaining this balance. So oftentimes on these shows, you're going to hear things that go against what you have been led to believe by mainstream medicine. And I always say to people that you have to listen to these shows with an open mind, because if the approach that you have been taking is not working, then perhaps you've taken the wrong approach. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. First up, we're talking about the pH balance in the body. Like I said, there's some parts of the body that need to be highly acidic, namely your stomach. But there are other parts of your digestive system that should be alkaline in order to function well. And so you've got to first and foremost understand the difference as to how to ensure that the acidic remains acidic and the alkaline remains alkaline. And that means educating yourself about what you should and should not be doing to protect that system. So first up, we're going to play a clip that looks at the digestive, your digestive tract, and specifically the balance between what should be acidic and what should be alkaline. Jason, I need you to play clip number 1, please.
Tell us about kind of the gastrointestinal system, how it is that our body's supposed to break down food.
Okay, well, digestion actually starts in the mouth. Most people don't realize it, but digestion starts in the mouth 2 ways. One, mechanical, grinding and breaking up and chewing is very important, getting pieces smaller and smaller and smaller. In fact, the human body is a juice machine. Everything is moving towards being juiced, right? So we're going to chew things up, chop things up into small swallowable pieces. And saliva actually has ptyalin in it, which is a carbohydrate-busting enzyme. It actually begins to break down carbohydrate into sugars and sugars into simple sugars and so on. And so digestion begins in the mouth. It goes down the esophagus to the stomach, and the pH change from an alkaline environment, which is in the mouth, to a very acid environment. Your stomach has to be a pH of 1, and a pH range of 1 being the most acid, 7 being neutral, and 14 being the most alkaline. It's imperative that your stomach environment be acid for several reasons. Number one, it sterilizes the stomach, so yeast and bacteria don't grow there and prevents the formation and fermentation of carbohydrates and sugars and fiber into gases, and which causes bloating and reflux and heartburn and all that nasty stuff. Also, the enzyme pepsin, which is produced by the stomach, requires an acid environment to function properly. Pepsin is the protein digesting enzyme. It breaks down animal flesh proteins, plant proteins, including grains, eggs and so forth, cheeses, milk. Any proteins are broken down into the simplest of amino acids by pepsin in the stomach. The acid environment is also required for a substance called Cassell's intrinsic factor, which is produced by the stomach wall, to bind with vitamin B12 and absorb vitamin B12. You cannot absorb vitamin B12 without being first very seriously acidified. The intrinsic factor just won't work. There are cells in the lining of the stomach that actually make the stomach acid. Hydrochloric acid they're called chief cells, and these chief cells require sodium chloride as the raw material to make hydrochloric acid. So that's kind of what goes on in the stomach. When the stomach churns things around, continues this mechanical breaking down, the acid begins to break down food by actually dissolving the connective tissue and separating fibers and cells of your food. And then, of course, there's the pepsin digestive enzymes, which break down the proteins into polypeptides, long strings of amino acids, down to tripeptides, which are 3 amino acids, dipeptides, which are 2 amino acids. The goal is to get down to the simplest amino acids, which makes protein digestion and absorption easier. Then as the food moves into the duodenum, some people say duodenum, but duodenum is how I learned it. The pancreas and the liver both empty into the common bile duct, which then empties into the duodenum. And the pancreas actually produces quarts of alkalizing mucus and bicarbonate, in the form of bicarbonate. And the purpose is to alkalize the duodenal environment, because the pancreatic enzymes and the intestinal enzymes only work in an alkaline environment. So you got to switch from being very, very acid to very alkaline.
So all enzymes are very pH dependent.
Oh, absolutely.
They work on a certain pH range, and if you get out of that pH range, those enzymes aren't as effective.
Well, they become a non-factor. They're just zero. They will not work if they're not in the right pH range. And this is why we die from changes in pH of our cells. The enzymes in our cells don't work either, not only the digestive system outside their pH range. And if you get into acidosis, normally our body itself is supposed to be like 7.1, and pH just a little above neutral, and you get to be 7.3, you're in what's called alkalosis. You're in the hospital dying because all your enzymes in your cells stop. It's too high of a pH. If you get down to, say, 6.9 or 6.8 below neutral, you're on the acid side, you're in acidosis, you're in the hospital dying because the enzymes can't work in an acid environment either.
Okay, so you get it. There has to be a balance. The acidic needs to be acidic. The alkaline needs to be alkaline, right? So you need to be careful, specifically when you're having a meal. If you are familiar with, if you're a regular here, you know I always talk about the 12 bad foods, and one of them is consuming carbonated beverages or alkaline water with a meal. And the reason for that is because if you're talking about a carbonated beverage, anything that has bubbles in it, the bubbles actually neutralize the acid in the stomach, as does alkaline water. So, as opposed to drinking something that is going to cause the acid to be less, you need to schedule when you drink these things. Or I try to stay away from the carbonated beverages on the whole, but I am somebody who drinks alkaline water, so I try to schedule when I drink that water so that it does not interfere with me trying to digest something that I've consumed, because you need to be very, very careful of that. You could actually do damage to the body if you are drinking alkaline water with a meal. Same thing with anything with bubbles with a meal, because you are weakening the acid in your stomach. And this is a bad idea. This is actually weakened stomach acid is what leads to things like acid reflux. You notice that if you have acid reflux and you sort of burp up this acidy taste, that's not actually acid that you're burping up. Even though it tastes awful like an acid, it's not really acid. So a lot of people make the mistake of believing that, oh, I have too much acid in my stomach, so I have to take an antacid and something to block the acid in the stomach. And this is the worst thing that you can do, because even though it will give you temporary relief, it is actually making the problem worse. Before I started this health journey, suffered from acid reflux. And the feeling was not good. I didn't know what it was at first, because one of the symptoms from that was this dull ache in my chest. And I thought that I was developing some kind of heart problem. So I reluctantly went to the doctor thinking that I was on the verge of having some kind of heart challenge. And lo and behold, after they ran a bunch of tests on me, they came back and said, you have acid reflux. I said, what? And what did they do? They prescribed the purple pill, Nexium, which blocks the stomach's ability to produce acid, to try to minimize the acid in the stomach. Luckily for me, I decided to Google that to see it worked. Now I took it for about 3-4 days and it did make me feel better. But I decided to Google that to see what was really in what I was taking. And when I saw the side effects of what could possibly happen by taking Nexium long term, I decided this ain't for me, because the side effects were worse than the thing that I was trying to heal. And I figured there's got to be a way to deal with this naturally. And I did my research, found out how to do that, and ended up without acid reflux, without taking that medication. I know of people who have been on that medication for years. Because like the typical pharmaceutical, it does not heal you. It manages symptoms. So we're talking today about what you need to be doing to ensure that you're not just managing symptoms, but you're actually healing your body of any challenges that you may have. Now, you heard Dr. Wallach in that clip talk about bile and the liver and the role of the pancreas, etc. Plays a very, very important role in this whole question of absorption. And you would have heard me talk about the villi, which is in the gut lining, which also plays a very important role in the whole digestive system. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. And then on the other side of the break, we're going to talk more about bile and the villi and how they function as it relates to absorption. And I promise you're going to find this to be quite fascinating. Stay with us. You're listening to and watching GPS on Global Paradigm Shift. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digyzyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 Hyperimmune Egg Powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, tints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires, cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Glasses love.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Tiki Bikini Hut at Junkanoo Beach. Great food, cool tropical drinks, and family fun in the sun. We are back. Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm here on this Wellness Wednesday. We are talking about absorption because, contrary to popular belief, you are not what you eat. You are what you absorb. The telephone numbers to call 3260271, 3260271, 3260271, 3260272, 3260272, 3260272. The WhatsApp line for text messages only. 8010271, 8010271. If you know anybody who is suffering from any kind of chronic ailment, you need to tell them about this show. Let them know we're on the air and we are discussing a topic that could be at the root cause of their problem. Because if you are malnourished, if you are not receiving sufficient nutrition in your from your diet, from your supplements, if you're not getting the nutrients that your body needs, that will be manifested in all manner of disease. So you could be going to the doctor for 6 different conditions, and they could be treating you for 6 different conditions, which all trace back to one problem area: malabsorption of nutrients, which means a damaged gut. So it is key that we understand what we need to do to make sure that we are absorbing the nutrients that we're taking in. It's not enough just to eat them. You got to make sure you're getting something out of them. Otherwise, if you're looking at a damaged system, they could be just passing straight through you. So this is very, very important for you to understand. Okay, so prior to the break, we talked about how the liver and the pancreas play such an important role in digestion. And you often hear me talk about the villi. Well, here's Dr. Joel Wallach explaining, I can take it from here, Jason, explaining the important role of bile and those little shaggy finger-looking things, not finger-licking, but finger-looking things in your gut lining called the villi, which are responsible for absorbing the nutrients and getting them into your bloodstream.
The bile coming down the bile duct, which is produced by the liver, the largest gland in the body, is designed to do 2 things. Number one, homogenize fats, take them from big, large molecules of fat down to little droplets in a very uniform fashion, purpose of which is to absorb fats. So when the fats are attached to bile salts, you absorb these fats easier. You go from large fats down to fatty acids, okay, or triglycerides, which is a 3-carbon glycerol with 3 long chains of fat on it. Triglycerides, that's where that comes from. And so the bile breaks all that down into the simplest of fats called fatty acids. Then the bile also helps you absorb fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K. Also, the bile from the liver helps you absorb cholesterol, the good fats, very important to everything from your cell walls to your brain to nerve insulation and storage of energy and so on. Then as this whole is kind of a soup at this point, it's called chyme, C-H-Y-M-E, and this soup moves down the intestine to where if the stomach and the duodenum and the pancreas and the liver and the bile have done their job, now you just have this soup moving down the intestines. And instead of just being a smooth tube, the intestinal absorptive surface is magnified like 85 times by these finger-like villi, which stick up, and it looks like velvet when you open up an intestine with a knife and you look at with a naked eye at the intestine. But when you look at it under the microscope, this velvet is actually produced by finger-like villi, which have little blood vessels up in them which then get the blood closer to the surface of the cells in the intestines. So when you absorb this, the molecules now of fat and proteins or amino acids and fatty acids and simple sugars, it goes through one cell in the intestine right into these little blood vessels, little capillaries, if you will, then into the bloodstream, which then goes up the hepatic vein in through the liver for the most part. And the liver pulls out what it wants and then distributes everything else.
When we talk about these villi, I've seen slides, and it looks like almost like imagining a visual of carpet fibers, right? And
That's
on
correct.
each of these carpet fibers, then there are individual hairs that stick out.
Microvilli.
That actually, again, you said increase the surface area of the
That's
stomach
correct.
by 85-fold.
Yes, that's correct. And also they have a certain amount of muscle in them, so that there's this peristaltic waves of the muscle in the intestine squeezing things along, just like you would, take one of these large, long balloons, and you'd take your fingers and you would just kind of move, say, the narrow part of it down. You can, how these magicians do that with these long balloons, make little animals and things by moving the narrow piece up and down the balloon. With their hands. Well, the muscles in the stomach do that, the muscles in the intestinal walls do that, and the muscles in these little villi do that. Additionally, there's a wave-like motion. In addition to this large muscular motion, there's also this wave-like motion of these villi that move things along. And also it opens up the space between the villi so more stuff, more of this chyme can get down in between them and be exposed to the surface area.
Now, is that why when people have inflammation, it really decreases the absorption area? They get inflamed and food can't get down between there? And
That is correct. That's one of the things that happens when you have inflammation for any reason, whether you have an infection like salmonella, you get a salmonella infection, or you get food poisoning and everything comes out the other end because you can't absorb it. These little villi swell, as you can imagine. Right. They swell, and it closes off that space in between them, as you point out. And even the tips of them get all inflamed and swollen, and so they cannot perform their function, or absorption is reduced to almost zero at that point.
Okay, so I want you to understand that the more surface area in your gut that is available to absorb nutrients, the better. That makes common sense, right? The more surface area that is available to absorb nutrients, the better, because it means that your body has more chance to absorb. So I want you to imagine that there is a straight line between point A and point B, just a straight line. And you can measure that straight line. Let's say it's 10 feet apart, right? So that would mean that you have 10 feet available to you for absorption. But now, instead of a straight line, what if you had where it goes up and comes back down and goes up and comes back down to form these finger-like villi? So it goes up, comes back down, goes up, comes back down, goes up, comes back down. So in that same space, you would have created so much more chances of absorption by drastically increasing the surface area that can absorb. You understand what I'm saying? Instead of a straight line, you've got these up and down, up and down, up and down. So it drastically increases the surface area that is responsible for absorbing nutrients. So when you damage your villi, what in essence you are doing is you are decreasing the available surface area through which you can absorb nutrients. And there are a couple of ways that you can actively damage your villi. Now, you would have heard Dr. Wallach talk about inflammation. Inflammation is a sure way to damage the villi. He would have described that very well in that last clip. You can also damage the villi. Certain things like toxins will damage your villi. Long-term chronic stress will damage the villi. Um, Other things like certain medications, antibiotics, for instance, will damage the villi. And then certain pathogens that enter your system can damage the villi. But one of the key ways that you can damage your villi is by certain foods that you're eating. Some of them you have been misled to believe are actually healthy, when in fact, they are contributing to your body's inability to absorb nutrients effectively. Top of the list of the foods that you should avoid because they're damaging your villi are gluten. Anything containing gluten. Anything made from wheat, barley, rye, or oats. Oils are also bad because they cause inflammation. But gluten is bad because it literally damages the villi. How does it do that? Well, foods that contain gluten, they're really these daisy-chained amino acids. And amino acids are supposed to be broken apart in the stomach, and then they're easier to absorb once they would have broken apart, once that chain would have broken apart, and they would be much easier to absorb into the bloodstream. But the problem with gluten is that it is practically impossible, very, very difficult for most people to break apart the chain that holds the amino acids together. And so instead of a digested amino acid entering the area where your villi are, you get these daisy chain undigested amino acids entering the gut. And as they're rumbling through the gut because they weren't digested, because the acid in the stomach was unable to break apart those chains, as it's rumbling through the gut now, it's causing damage. I often use this as an example. If you get a string of pearls and you try to vacuum the string of pearls without breaking it apart, it's going to clog up the gears of that Brussels vacuum. But if you break the chain and allow the pearls to fall to the ground individually, it'll be very easy to vacuum them up off the ground. So imagine that the villi are being damaged because you're trying to vacuum up an intact string of pearls. Now, the challenge is that if you continuously do the damage, even though you would have been born with billions of villi, little babies have billions of villi that they're born with. The challenge is that over a long period of time of eating these foods, eventually you're going to wear them down and wear them down and wear them down to the point where there's none left. You're actually going to kill the villi. And instead of looking like a shaggy rug with all of these finger-looking villi, your digestive tract will look like a smooth pipe. And whatever you eat is going to pass right through you without you absorbing any kind of nutrients into your bloodstream as a result. Remember now, the nutrients are like the gasoline for the car. So if you are unable to absorb anything good from what you're eating, and you're continuing to do ongoing damage, I don't have to spell it out for you. You understand what will happen. If we look at this pandemic that we have been dealing with for the past couple of years, a major part of the whole question of those who fare well and those who don't is a strong immune system. Goes without saying. You have to have a healthy immune system to be able to, handle this. Whether you took the jab or not, it was about a strong immune system. And if you are regular here, you know by now that most of your immune system is located in your gut. So a major part of the challenge that many people faced, they didn't even realize, and many continue to not realize, the connection of gut health with how well you fared with the virus. Truth be told, one of the reasons why little children, for the most part, aren't as affected negatively as the older generation, is because they still have quite a lot of healthy villi left in their system. They've only been eating gluten. Let's say a 5-year-old has only been eating solid food since they were, say, what? 1.5, 1? So they've only been eating gluten for 4 years. So they're doing damage, but there's still quite a lot of gluten, a lot of villi, healthy villi left. But imagine you're 65 and you've been eating gluten for 64 years. That's 64 years worth of damaging the villi. So you pretty much probably have very little, if any, left. And that means that you have damaged your immune system to the degree that when a pathogen comes along, remember now I said one of the things that damages the villi are pathogens. So if you've already worn down the villi in your gut from eating these bad foods for most of your life, and then a pathogen comes along, doesn't take a genius to figure out that you're going to have a really hard time fighting off that pathogen because you have eliminated, for the most part, the very apparatus that is responsible for helping you to fight it off. And so this is why, it never ceases to amaze me. You're telling people they're not listening. And yet, they think, oh, you're just being, you and you're gluten-free, Michelle, But it's not just a matter of a trend. This is something that is impacting your ability to ward off disease. And if you continue to eat gluten, you're making yourself a victim twice. You're killing off the very apparatus that is responsible for absorbing nutrients. And then because you're not getting nutrients, you're making yourself more susceptible to be sick and develop disease. So it don't take a genius to figure out that you need to stop doing damage to the very apparatus that was designed to protect you from these things. And I've heard people say to me, well, Michelle, you treat everybody like they have celiac disease. There are other conditions that, apart from celiac disease, that can adversely affect your health that begin with a damaged gut. And most people are walking around with a condition called leaky gut. And leaky gut leads to all kinds of diseases, but you are not making the connection between all of these diseases that the doctor tells you you're dealing with and you eating that bread or that pasta. You're not connecting the two. But this is what you're doing on a daily basis. And so, people, ain't no bread, ain't no macaroni, ain't no pasta I have ever tasted taste that good that they are worth me continuing to damage the very apparatus that is responsible for keeping me healthy. And I understand that, most people weren't taught this growing up. And so, you may be used to eating certain foods, and you may say, boy, Michelle, you asking me to give this up? I don't know. This can be hard. Well, which is harder? Giving that up, switching brands, finding an alternative that is gluten-free, or coming down with a serious illness? Pick your hard. Pick your hard. Either you're going to face the quote unquote hardship of making the changes you need to make, or you're going to face some real hardship by developing a very serious disease. Bottom line, pick your hard, because that's what it's going to boil down to. So we need to understand that when it comes to the balance that is needed in the gut to ensure absorption, good, healthy absorption, that a major part of this discussion is the balance of between good and bad bacteria and your ability to digest minerals. And as Dr. Wallach will explain in this next clip, not all minerals are created equal, or should I say, the way in which they are processed is what separates whether or not your body can break it down, whether or not your body can absorb it. Because a lot of y'all right now are going out and buying stuff. You may have listened to this show and say, oh, I need to go buy this mineral and that mineral. But because of the way that what you're buying is formulated, your body still can't absorb it. So Dr. Wallach is going to explain in this clip the importance of understanding the balance between good and bad bacteria and the way that the minerals that you are intaking are formulated so that they can be absorbed easily by the body.
Now, what's the role of the good bacteria in our intestinal tract? What does that do for our bodies?
Well, the good bacteria, 99.9% of them are in the colon. They're not in the stomach, which is sterile if you have the right amount of acid. They're not found in the small intestine if you have the right amount of alkali. And so the good bacteria kind of survive. I mean, let's say you swallow 1 million probiotics, maybe only 20,000 get through your stomach because the acid kills them all.
Right.
Okay? Then out of the 20,000 gets into your small intestines, maybe another 10,000 die because of the alkaline environment. So that maybe only 10,000 make it to your colon. But when they get there, that's the perfect environment for them, pH-wise, oxygen-wise, and so forth. And they begin to flourish and reproduce themselves, and 10,000 will become billions.
And what do they do?
Well, they actually fend off bad bacteria by just being there and growing their presence. They're called commensals. They're just there. Most of them don't produce anything good for us, but their presence crowds out the bad guys. There's also a symbiotic relationship with some of these probiotics in that they produce vitamin C, they produce vitamin B12, they do all kinds of nifty stuff by producing certain vitamins. And this actually happens in animals in their digestive tracts as well. I always smile when vegetarians say, well, look, there's a cow and an elephant, and they eat grass, and look at them. Why can't we just eat vegetables? Well, when you look at a cow or a deer or an antelope, these are four-stomach animals, moose and yaks and very large four-stomached animals.
And there's probably a reason why they have four stomachs.
Well, if you think about it, if you look around the world, what is the most, other than rodents, what is the most common vertebrate you see other than human beings around the earth? Four-stomached animals. Every continent has four-stomached animals. These things are very universal because they're able to digest things that nothing else can digest. They can take grass, which is essentially useless to all animals, but what they do is there's four stomachs, and the first two are kind of mechanically breaking things down, but the third stomach is called the rumen, and in a cow, it contains 40 gallons of fluid, and it's a big fermentative vat. It's kind of like making beer in there, right? And remember, I said our whole digestive system is a juice machine, making things into juice. Well, a cow has this big 40-gallon rumen, R-U-M-E-N, fermentative vat that's full of bacteria and yeast and fungus and viruses and protozoa. Now, what's the difference between a protozoa and a bacteria? Well, bacteria are plants. Protozoan are animals, and they have little villi, like little oars in a boat, and they move around with these little villi, and they consciously move from here to there, and they have pumps that move things around. They're little animals.
Right.
Goes into the fourth stomach. So in the end, a cow is a carnivore. The cow is eating little animals in the fourth stomach called an abomason.
So the cow is eating grass to feed the little animals.
Yes, now you got it.
All right.
And that's why the theory of vegetarians is incorrect.
Okay.
Because we cannot survive eating vegetables.
Okay. And we know from your Dead Doctors Don't Lie audio cassette that having those chelated minerals are so important because inorganic minerals we just don't absorb.
Exactly. Inorganic minerals, even for animals, they eat clay and all that kind of stuff, again, to feed these little animals within inside of them. And inorganic minerals are only usable 3 to 5%, 3 to 10%. And the four-stomach animals do a little better job than the single-stomach animals like monkeys and horses and things like that. And you and I, of course.
Okay, so I know you heard something just now, particularly those of you who are vegetarian, and it just blew your mind. Like, wait, what? What did he just say? We often tell people who are vegetarians that it is extremely important that even though you are a vegetarian, you have to supplement because it is impossible for you to eat enough to get all of the nutrients that your body needs on strictly a vegetarian diet without supplementation for various reasons. One of them being that, even if you're eating organic, you just can't get all the nutrients you need. You have to supplement, but you have to supplement with the right formula of vitamins and minerals, amino acids, essential fatty acids. We all probably know someone from a community that has a strict vegetarian diet who still got sick, still end up with a serious disease. Why? Because they were not supplementing their intake of, a vegetarian diet with the adequate amounts of nutrients, micronutrients that their bodies needed. So they still end up getting sick. But again, not all vitamins, not all minerals are created equal. So it's got to be formulated in a way that your body can assimilate it. But make no mistake, you have to supplement. If you choose not to eat meat, that's fine. But make sure you're supplementing so that you can still get the adequate amounts of nutrition that you need. I know people who are on a very strict vegetarian diet and right now battling serious disease. And that's not bad luck. That's the fact that they weren't getting adequate nutrition. So absorption is key, people. Absorption is key. And this is why I thought it was important for us to do this show today. If you know anyone who's battling any kind of chronic disease, please like and share the show and let them know they need to tune in today because the very thing that they are battling is probably linked to this topic today. Malabsorption. Because again, it's not what you eat that counts. It's what you can absorb. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side of the break, we are going to talk about something else that is a myth. Particularly if you have high blood pressure, your doctor probably took you off of salt. Tell you need to cut down on salt. You're going to hear on the other side of the break why that is not a good idea as it relates to your digestive system and your ability to absorb nutrients. Stay with us. This is GPS.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Longevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Longevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs, but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting, sugar-free, berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for a rim fix and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Blessed love.
It's gotten harder and harder to get your daily requirement of vital nutrients from food alone. Without additional vitamin and nutrient support, your health and well-being can suffer drastically. That's why Z-Radical was specifically formulated. It combines a blend of antioxidant-rich vitamins, minerals, and botanicals with the protective powers of fucoidan to help fill the gaps from lack of nutrients in your foods. The core of Z-Radical is fucoidan, a naturally occurring polysaccharide that helps stimulate immune reaction, protecting you against inflammation and oxidative stress. We harvest this powerful mineral-rich nutrient from brown seaweed, harvested only from the world's most pristine ocean waters to ensure the purest quality. It's then extracted using cold process technology to ensure maximum levels of bioavailability. Then we add essential vitamins that help to protect your cardiovascular and nervous systems and are crucial for optimal immune and neurological function. Z-Radical also includes a proprietary blend of delicious antioxidant-rich fruits and berries. This great-tasting combination helps your body combat free radical imbalances that can contribute to a variety of degenerative conditions like arthritis and heart disease. Z-Radical. Experience the power of fucoidan with antioxidant-rich berries, 8 essential vitamins, and more to provide you with potent health benefits. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome back to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm here on this Wellness Wednesday. We're talking about absorption because it's not what you eat that counts, but what you can absorb. The telephone numbers to call: 3260271, 3260271, 3260271, 3260272, 3260272, 3260272, and the WhatsApp line, which Jason ain't bring to me at the WhatsApp line. You don't have it. Oh, it's on location. Sorry about that, y'all. I didn't realize that. So don't WhatsApp me today because the phone isn't here in the studio. All right. So on this Wellness Wednesday, we're talking about absorption, because the saying that you are what you eat is really not true. It's what you can absorb that makes the difference. Now, fair warning, what you're about to hear is going to blow your mind, because I am certain that many of you have been told the exact opposite by your medical doctor. But in spite of what you have been told, you need to understand that salt plays a very important role in digestion and absorption. Now, certain of you may be facing conditions that your doctor has put you on a restricted salt intake diet. High blood pressure is the first one that comes to mind. Many of you who have been battling high blood pressure were told, oh, salt is the culprit. You got to stop eating salt. And they take you off of salt. Truth be told, high blood pressure is the result of a nutritional deficiency. Nutritional deficiency. I've seen it. And I have to tell you, that's one of the easiest things in the world to fix. High blood pressure. Easy thing to fix. Generally speaking, 2 weeks. Give me 2 weeks. And your pressure that you may have been battling with for years, that problem will be resolved. 2 weeks. Because chances are all you need is nutrition to get your body to correct itself. But the problem is that the doctor has put you on a salt restrictive diet, which is hindering your body's ability to properly digest and therefore absorb nutrients. It's like catch-22. So you're experiencing this health challenge because of a nutritional deficiency, but they don't know that. So they tell you to stop consuming salt, which is needed to help you absorb the nutrients. It's like this vicious cycle. And for the record, I have to say it for every time, I am not in any way trying to disparage the work of the medical doctors. They have a very significant role to play when it comes to medicine. But you need to understand that they practice allopathic reductionist medicine. They have not been trained extensively in nutrition. So they do not, for the most part, understand that salt is a mineral that your body needs in order to be able to absorb nutrients. We have a call on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Good afternoon, Michelle. How you doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm okay. Michelle, when you mentioned salt is good for the human body, salt is good for every form of life. But salt, you're talking about salt we have right here in the Bahamas and
the best kind. That's among the best kind.
That's the best right there. I mean, I'm talking about other than like the Himalaya salt and the salt, like other based or
I'm having a hard time hearing you. I don't know if you need to screw up your windows because I'm getting a lot of background noise. So it's making it difficult for me to hear what you're saying.
You can hear me now?
That's a little better, yeah. What was your question just now?
No, I was saying that salt is a good thing for all forms of life. All forms of life need salt. And it isn't like the salt is bad. What is bad is the salt that is processed. They strip the salt and take all of the precious minerals out, and then they add iodine and other toxins in it.
Yeah.
And they give it to you in the box.
Yeah.
That's when they get sick.
Yeah.
So
the less processed it is, the better.
Yeah.
I personally use the salt that we get from, I think my salt comes from Long Island.
Okay, that's good salt.
Yes, good salt. The pink Himalayan salt is good as well.
Yeah.
You have several other salts on the market that are really, really good. But if you decide that you want to buy the processed salt, make sure it is salt with iodine, because iodine deficiency.
Yeah, Michelle, all the processed salt, none of them are good to buy because all of them have been stripped.
I hear you. But if you decide to do that, because some people will, I'm not saying it's the best choice, but for those who decide that that's what they trust, then go with the iodine salt, because iodine-rich salt, because many people are suffering from an iodine deficiency, which will lead to other problems like thyroid conditions, for instance. Right now, I took myself off of medication I was on for thyroid malfunction. I've been on that for almost 20 years. And I'm like, enough is enough. Yeah. So I am now trying to build up the amount of iodine I take into my system, because iodine helps to improve thyroid function. So a lot of people right now walking around here iodine deficient. So I'm saying if you do go that route, make sure that it is the salt that has iodine in it. But that is not the best route to go. The best route to go is the less processed salt because it has more of the good stuff still in there.
That's processed or not processed at all.
Yeah, well, not everybody's going to,
Yeah, but the complaint is about the island salt. People say they don't like to cook with it because they put too much in it. But when it's something where they find like the powder, Michelle, when you look at things that are palatable to our taste, right? You look at sugar, you look at salt, two opposites basically, but the two will do the same thing to your body.
you just need the right kind of salt. But salt is definitely
The right
necessary.
kind of salt and the right kind of sugar.
Well,
sugar from fruits and stuff is good.
yeah,
Other
exactly.
than the bag.
Get it naturally from the fruits as opposed to processed salt.
Add with the salt. Add with the salt.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for calling.
You're welcome. Have a nice day.
But salt does play a very significant role in digestion and absorption. And if you are on a salt-restricted diet, absorb nutrients, which then makes it difficult for the body to function, which then leads to other diseases and conditions like the very high blood pressure you're trying to get rid of. Here is Dr. Wallach explaining this more.
When we need to make sure that the nutrients get absorbed in the body, then we need to look at our body's ability to digest it. And since it starts in the mouth and in the stomach and we need an acid environment, what are some of the things that our bodies need to produce acid? Now, you mentioned like we need NaCl, table salt, right?
Yes,
NaCl,
sodium chloride.
right? Mm-hmm. And chemically, HCl, hydrochloric acid, has the same chloride ion that salt does, right?
That's correct.
So do we need to have salt in our diet in order to make hydrochloric acid?
Blake, it's an essential nutrient. You cannot live without sodium chloride. Anybody who says you need to restrict salt should be put in jail for reckless endangerment. This is what acidifies your stomach, and people who do not consume salt will set themselves up for many, many, many diseases and increase their risk of allergies because you can't break down proteins into the simplest of amino acids. These dipeptides, 2 amino acids, tripeptides, polypeptides, multiples amino acids, become allergens. You can absorb them in your bloodstream, but your body recognizes them as oranges or beef or eggs. And so what happens is you get allergic to those foods when you cannot fully digest them down to the simplest of amino acids.
They're treated like foreign invaders.
Exactly. So it's a real hazard. And so it's imperative that you have stomach acid. There's actually specialized cells in the stomach called chief cells. You can actually recognize them on microscopic sections of the stomach. They're very distinctive and very separate from just the standard cells in the stomach. Like I say, imperative, nothing happens. And also acidifies the minerals. For instance, you can be supplementing with all the iron you want. I mean, with tons of iron, and you can still be iron deficient if you don't have enough stomach acid to then acidify that iron so that it is usable, absorbable in the body.
Just like we said before, it's not what you eat, it's what you absorb that counts.
Exactly.
So, people, I know your minds are being blown right now, but salt, the right type of salt, is very important to your body's ability to absorb nutrients. And if you are on a salt-restricted diet, you are setting yourself up for some serious issues down the road. How do you know when you've used enough salt? Or how do you know if you've used too much salt? Your food will be salty. This ain't rocket science. You know you're using too much salt when your food's salty. Right? But you cannot eliminate salt from your diet if you expect to be healthy. Sea salt is good, Cheryl. Cheryl is asking the question, what about sea salt? Again, the less processed, the better. Okay? So you want to go with, salt that has not been over-processed. Because that is a mineral that your body needs to be able to absorb nutrients. And believe me when I tell you, high blood pressure is a result of a nutritional deficiency. So if you're not consuming salt, it's like catch-22. You're contributing to the very thing you're trying to solve. Yeah, I know this goes against what you've been told, but I ask people all the time, if what you have been told is so correct, then how's that working out for you? You have been on a restricted diet for 10 years and you still having issues with blood pressure. Or like some people say to me, I'm a well-managed hypertensive patient. You want to go beyond being well-managed to healed. And if you want to heal your body, then you need salt, because that salt is going to help with the digestive process and help you to better absorb nutrients. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you go pile up on salt and then continue to do the bad stuff. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way because, again, those of you who are regulars will have heard me say this time and time again, but it bears repeating. No amount of nutrition can outdo a poor diet. Say it with me, class. No amount of nutrition can outdo a poor diet. So don't go run out there and buy all the salt off the shelf and say, well, Michelle, this ain't working, but you decided to continue to eat poorly. It don't work like that. I often, come across clients. As a matter of fact, I was talking to one just yesterday. I was communicating with one. And I'm asking her, how are things going with your program? Oh, things are going well. Okay. Are you noticing a difference? Not yet. Okay. Have you changed your diet? Well, what had happened was no amount of nutrition. I know she's smiling right now because she know I talk about her. But no amount of nutrition will outdo a poor diet. None. So either you want to be well or you don't. And if you want to be well, then you have to cut out the bad foods that are contributing to your illness. It's as simple as that. There is no gradual. There is no, I trying my best. It's like you're trying to be pregnant. Either you are or you ain't. There is no gray area when it comes to that. Either you're pregnant or you ain't. You can't be a little bit pregnant. In the same way, you have to completely eliminate the bad foods from your diet if you expect to be well. And one of the things that you need to cut out of your diet, I touched on it earlier in the show, is gluten. Now, you may say to me, Michelle, I went and I had myself tested and the doctor said that I don't have a wheat intolerance, so I can continue to eat. I don't have a wheat allergy, so there's no reason for me to cut out wheat out of my diet. Well, Dr. Wallach has an answer for you, because there is a significant difference between an allergy and intolerance. So you may not be allergic to something, but that does not mean that you can tolerate it. So here again is Dr. Wallach explaining what is a gluten intolerance and why you need to eliminate it from your diet because of it.
If I have a theater with 1,000 people in there and I test them for a poison ivy allergy, I guarantee you nobody in there will be allergic to poison ivy because they're not eating it every day and so on. On the other hand, I guarantee you they're all intolerant to poison ivy because poison ivy actually produces and releases a toxin to defend itself against foreign invaders. It fends off bugs. You never see bugs eating poison ivy.
Right.
Okay, you never see animals eating poison ivy because after one time they won't do it again.
Right.
And that's its defense. That defense, that intolerance to that toxin or that poison or that contact poison that's produced by the poison ivy, it makes your skin have almost an eczema, dermatitis, or psoriasis-like reaction. Now, the same thing happens when you consume foods you're intolerant to. Not allergic to, but intolerant to, because this food will produce a contact intolerance, contact allergy, if you will. You don't have to absorb it to react to it.
Right, so it's a contact allergy, not necessarily just on the skin, but contact with the intestinal lining.
Yeah, and I don't like to use the word allergy because it's not a true allergy, and people, well, we tested you for a wheat allergy and you're not allergic to wheat, but you're still going to be intolerant to that gluten, okay?
What happens if you don't have that strong of stomach acid? If you haven't been eating
Well, then the pepsin won't work. It won't digest wheat, barley, rye, and oat proteins, or egg proteins, or fish proteins, or clam proteins, or any kind of proteins down into the simplest of amino acids.
So we get undigested wheat, barley, rye, and oat protein that's into the intestines.
You got it. Now it becomes a dangerous chemical. It's like poison ivy. Okay, this is like a toxin of poison touching that villi and it swells up.
And because it swells up, we've cut down the ability of the food to get
you reduce the surface area,
right, which messes up our absorption.
Plus, when that villi swells, it not only swells on the outside to close off that space in between the adjoining villi, but it also squeezes the blood vessel on the inside, because the swelling also goes the other direction. Okay, on the inside, it shuts off that blood vessel, so even if you can partially absorb some of that food, it doesn't get into the bloodstream because there's no blood in there anymore. There's no circulation. And this is why you have problems in another way when you have what's called celiac disease. The villi actually die, and they will die
because of cut off circulation.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they die, and so now you're losing 10%, 25%, 50%, 75%, 80%, 100% of your absorptive surface, and now your intestines are just a tube, and there's actually scar tissue right behind all those dead villi, trying to protect you from the invasion of the bacteria and acids and alkali and all this other stuff.
Now, when you've done all of these autopsies on both people and animals, did you see this?
Oh, yes. It's very dramatic and very easily diagnosed at autopsy or biopsy, and so you can actually feel it when you do surgery. You can run your hands down the small intestines, and you can actually feel areas. When this happens, you get, it's almost, again, like eczema on the outside, and your intestines will crack and seep fluid and serum and stuff, and it's a mess in there.
Is that the leaky gut syndrome?
Yes.
We hear about?
It can be called leaky gut syndrome, is another name for it.
Okay.
And doctors will call it leaky gut syndrome, but they won't really make the connection that it's caused by this gluten intolerance.
So you see why it's important for you to give up the gluten. It's not worth it, people. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Because you may be dealing with a condition right now that stems from a leaky gut, and you're not making the connection. So, for instance, if you have chronic acne, chances are you have a leaky gut. If you have psoriasis or, some other skin condition, chances are you have a leaky gut. If you've got arthritis or rheumatoid arthritis, chances are you have a leaky gut. Brain fog, ADHD, trouble concentrating, leaky gut. Autoimmune diseases like lupus or thyroid malfunction, leaky gut. Digestive disorders, irritable bowel disease, inflammatory bowel disease, chronic constipation, diarrhea, etc. Leaky gut. And where does it all go back to? The fact that you don't want to put down that oatmeal that you have been eating every morning, because that's what you grow up eating. That's your comfort food, and you enjoy a good bowl of oatmeal every morning, and they told you that's a healthy food, so you can keep eating it. Well, what's that saying we have here in the Bahamas? If you like it, let it kill you. But know that it is killing you. Slowly but surely. If you continue to consume foods with gluten, whether you have celiac disease or not, chances are you are seriously damaging the very apparatus that is responsible for absorbing nutrients into your bloodstream. And if you are unable to absorb nutrients into your bloodstream because you refuse to put down that oatmeal then you are setting yourself up for all manner of disease. It is what it is. And I'm not going to sit here on this show today and try to pretty this up and try to coddle anybody and try to say, well, you know, a little bit every now and again ain't gonna hurt. The devil is a liar from the pit of hell, and the truth is not in him. So if you're battling lupus, but you ain't want to put down that cake, get used to battling lupus. If you have chronic rheumatoid arthritis, but you just gotta have that piece of macaroni and cheese on a Sunday, get used to your rheumatoid arthritis. It's as simple as that. But again, most people ain't making the connection because you've never been taught this. So it is what it is, people. I ain't never come. Listen, I love guava duff. Anybody who know me know I grew up eating some of the best guava duff ever. My late Aunt Pat, Patricia Clinton, oh my God, that woman gonna make a duff. Her duff was legendary. When I was off to college in New Jersey, Bahamas Air at the time used to fly direct to Newark in New Jersey. My school was all the way in Montclair, which is like 30 miles away from Newark. And her daughter was a stewardess at the time and used to fly to Newark every Sunday. And she knew she could not fly into Newark unless she brought me Sunday dinner and my guava duff. That was a treat when I was in college. Love guava duff. But I came to realize that that guava duff, that cake, whatever it is out there that I was eating with gluten, wasn't worth the literal pain I was experiencing because of such damage that I had done to my gut, or that had been done to my gut because of toxins I was exposed to. It wasn't worth it. So how long it take you to eat that slice of cake? 5 minutes? You're talking 5 minutes of pure pleasure. You can enjoy that cake. And then later on, oh Lord, my joint's so stiff. Well, if you ain't willing to give up the cake, get used to the stiff joints. It's as simple as that. If you ain't willing to give up that pasta, get used to the arthritis. Get used to the chronic acne. Get used to all the skin. Get used to it. Because you are contributing to it by not being willing to give up the very thing that is causing the problem. It ain't worth it, people. And nowadays, they got all kinds of options that you could just switch out brands. So you really ain't got no excuse. Find yourself a gluten-free flour. Decide to figure out how to make the foods that you love most gluten-free. And you can still enjoy those foods just without the gluten. The other day, I made myself stew fish with a gluten-free flour. Absolutely delicious. Who knew? Who knew that there was no gluten? Who knew? Because I keep telling people, you don't see nobody running to go grab no bag of flour and just eat the raw flour, eh? Because flour ain't got no taste. All the gluten does is glue. It's like a glue. It holds things together. So you aren't missing taste if you get rid of gluten. You just got to find another way to make it so that things still hold together using something else, but that's not damaging your gut. It is not worth it, people, especially if you're battling some chronic disease, some autoimmune disease, some skin disease. It ain't worth it. As good as my anti-pot duff was, it ain't that good. for me to go through the pain what I would go through if I were to eat that now. It's just not worth it. So I want to encourage you to make some wise choices. Okay? All right. So on the other side of the break, we are going to talk about how you should handle your children's diet when it comes to gluten, and whether or not, if you're hearing this information today and you're thinking, boy, I wish I'd known this before. Is that a call for the show? Okay. You're thinking, boy, I wish I'd known this before. My gut is already damaged. What can I do? Good news on the other side of the break. Stay with us. This is GPS.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 hyperimmune egg powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, paints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Blessed love.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Tiki Bikini Hut at Junkanoo Beach. Great food, cool tropical drinks, and family fun in the sun. Welcome back to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift. On this Wellness Wednesday, we're talking about absorption today because it's not what you eat, but what you can absorb. We have a call on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Madam Michelle,
Yes, sir.
how are you, ma'am?
I'm good. How are you?
Listen, I'm beginning to love you like a sister more and more.
Thank you.
You are making me feel proud. But I'll wait till the open line show to tell you why.
Okay.
I will not change your subject matter.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the show yesterday, we were proud of you. We are so proud of you.
Okay.
Let me just say this, as you alluded, I am basically baffled. I'm baffled with the social disorder that we're having, but let me stick to your subject matter.
Please do.
You know, as you talk of just now about dieting, and we in this country don't even think. I am so, either maybe I have been brainwashed spiritually in my belief now as I get older. And as a show as important as this, you know, you have very little call. But let it be politics, the first religion in this country today.
Well, let me just say with regard to that, I find that on Wednesdays in general, I don't get a lot of calls. And that's because people are listening more so than looking to, unless they have a specific question about whatever we're covering on that particular Wednesday. But we bring so much information on Wednesdays, and people reach out to me afterwards and say, "Oh my God, I learned so much," and you know, so I don't. I've come to the place now where I don't expect a lot of calls on Wednesdays because I know that people are just simply listening and gathering information.
Okay.
Every now and again, we'll come across somebody who has a specific question about a particular topic that we're covering, and that person will call. But generally speaking, I don't get a lot of calls on Wednesdays, but I know people are listening because people reach out to me after the show and say, "Boy, I didn't know this," or "What can I take for that?" Or, you know what I mean? So I don't think that there's anything unusual about me not receiving a lot of calls on a Wednesday.
Okay. Can I respond?
Sure.
You know, as you spoke about the guava dust.
Mm-hmm.
It's sweet and tastes good, hey.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even know oatmeal, as you alluded, do that much damage. You know, I have 5 grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked me, "Daddy, granddaddy," one is here with me right now. "Granddaddy, how you live? How you live? You don't like to eat, and you don't eat," because I always remind them of junk.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I put this food, you know, they'll say, "Granddaddy don't like you eating junk," and I become so accustomed to what I eat. So they ask me, "Granddaddy, how do you live? You don't like food." I love food. I love food. But I am very careful of eating junk. So I normally tell them, I say, keep living. When you reach granddaddy age, you will see the result. So, you know, keep living. As a nation, keep living. Keep eating junk.
The older you get, boy,
You will
the harder you got to work.
Yes, sir. Keep. And I, you know, why are you still so small? You know, I am very careful. Gorbachev was one choice. It wasn't a favorite of mine. You know, even with the stew that you talk about just now. As a boy, my mother, she's still good at it, 89 years old. But I'm not the chef like my mother. My brother is.
Mm-hmm.
But I am so sensitive now about the flour.
Well, there's gluten-free flour on the market. That's
the flour that the flour that they used to use and brown that with.
Yeah.
And I barely now eat stew fish. And you know, I'm not asking no one not to eat it.
Just get a gluten-free flour.
Where can I find that?
Man, any food store, man. They all over the place.
Okay. Yeah, because you know, I'm so sensitive now with the flour when you do all that up together. And
Yeah,
you know,
you don't need to use traditional flour. I don't buy traditional flour anymore. I buy gluten-free flour.
Yes.
And I still enjoy my favorite foods.
Okay, I can have to try that. But you know, as you grow older, like I said, I tell them keep living, keep living.
Yeah.
But Friday I'll wait till an overline show because I have a little more to say. But we becoming proud of you. You normally bash me. I don't mind. But I could take it.
Friday.
Friday.
Okay.
Have a wonderful day.
Thanks for calling. Okay, he brought up a very important point, and that's talking about his grandkids. You know, I find it interesting that we train our kids to eat poorly, and then we get upset when they make poor choices. I heard a parent once say, "My child always has reached for the junk." Well, who introduced them to the junk? That's another call for the show. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Good afternoon, Miss Malcolm. How are you doing?
Great, how are you?
Thank God for life. Papa here, and good afternoon to you listeners.
Hi, Papa.
Malcolm, I missed the last part of the show yesterday. It was hot, but I was like always working. And someone is trying to bring me up to date, right? So I can wait till Friday. But I still want to salute you till I confirm the point what they tell me you made. You remember you keep promising to throw that wrench inside the thing up?
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, so I heard you did it, but I maybe wait till Friday for God's will, like to talk about it. What I wanted to find out from you, what are you saying? Me like you, or you like me? I grew up loving guava. If I still like it, I still eat it. You say it's something we need to do to use a different kind of flour or something, or stop eating guava.
I ain't saying stop eating it. Just find a different way to make it.
I'm asking you.
I'm
what
telling
you
you,
suggest to live healthy, to keep the body well.
Just find another healthier way to make it. Instead of using wheat flour, use a gluten-free flour. I'm not saying you have to stop eating it. Just find
so when
a
we go
different way
to the
make it.
restaurants or we talk to what you call them people, bakers, the people who's bake these things, we got to tell them, find out if they use the gluten-free flour.
Yes, and if they don't,
I
suggested you don't eat it if they don't. Simple as that.
Yes, I agree. But we have to ask the question because, I mean, that's from you educating us, far as we can say, we ain't see nothing wrong with guava. That's what you're saying. How you do it. What about the pumpkin pie?
If the crust is made with wheat flour, then I wouldn't eat it.
So things like cream of wheat, what I love, what is eaten from a baby.
I wouldn't eat it. Again, just because you grow up on it don't mean it's right. Now, back in the day...
You could dust on the cream of wheat or use for the cream of wheat to make it okay?
What?
And like how they have ingredients or stuff you could put on things to take out the bad things or something.
No, ain't nothing you could put on that to take out the gluten out of that. No. Now, back in the day when we were growing up, the wheat was not genetically modified, so it wasn't damaging to the body like the wheat is today.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing you could eat or put on oatmeal or cream of wheat to make it healthy. Nothing. It has gluten.
You used to eat that cream of wheat that tastes good, but with a nut and egg in it.
Yeah, but now I know better. When you know better, do better.
Yeah. All right. Hopefully by Friday, of course, there like so much to talk about. Keep it a good way. Be encouraged.
Thanks for calling.
All right.
So, yeah, you introduce your children to the foods that they are eating for the most part. Now, you may say, well, no, they go on to school and they learn about something else. But for the most part, when you talk about toddlers, especially you are training their palate. That's your responsibility as an adult. So you can't introduce your children to bad food and then be upset when they choose the bad food that's all they want to eat. The same applies to gluten, even though I said earlier in the show that kids, generally speaking, don't have as much damage to their villi. If you train them from childhood to eat poorly, they will grow into an adult that eats poorly. So you setting your child up for failure. So my suggestion, and by extension, Dr. Wallach's suggestion, as you'll hear in this next clip, is that you don't introduce your children to these foods that are damaging their bodies, because even though they compensate, they're still being damaged.
Grandmothers will tell you, well, don't give your kids wheat until they're a year old, right? You hear that kind of stuff. Now, that's because their little digestive tracts aren't prepared for those kinds of things. But if I had my way, nobody under 10 years old would eat grains.
Okay, so no, instead of pancakes or breakfast cereals, we'd have more
Or
eggs.
toast, or pasta, or crackers and croutons, and hamburger buns and hot dog buns, and muffins and cake and cookies and all that kind of stuff. I would have them only eat like...
We're having a challenge with that. I'm going to try one more time to see if we can get that to play, okay? So here we go again.
Grandmothers will tell you, well, don't give your kids wheat until they're a year old, right? You hear that kind of stuff. That's because their little digestive tracts aren't prepared for those kinds of things. But if I had my way, nobody under 10 years old would eat grains.
Okay, so no, instead of pancakes or breakfast cereals, we'd have more
Or
eggs.
toast, or pasta,
Okay.
or crackers and croutons, and hamburger buns and hot dog buns, and muffins and cake and cookies and all that kind of stuff. I would have them only eat like an Oriental. They're going to be eating sweet potatoes and rice and millet and flax.
More vegetables.
More vegetables, eggs for breakfast, nuts.
Nuts for a snack.
Great fats, healthy fats. Very little carbohydrates except for peanuts. I don't like peanuts because they have two bad things. One is a lot of carbohydrate. They also have a poison in them called aflatoxin, which causes liver cancer and liver cirrhosis and can cause sudden death if you get a big enough concentration of aflatoxin, which is a byproduct of an infestation of a fungus in stored peanuts called aspergillus, essentially bread mold.
And as somebody who was exposed to mold can tell you, that is not a good idea to be exposing yourself to that kind of toxin. But how many times do you go to a kid's party or a church event or wherever, and for children, and what do we feed them? Hot dogs and hamburgers and, all the bad stuff. You're setting your children up for future failure. Find an alternative. They do have on the market gluten-free buns. They do have on the market gluten-free options. You gotta stop, people. When people say, oh, this condition runs in my family. Probably not the condition that runs in your family, but bad habits run in your family. So you've been eating bad because your mommy ate bad, because your Grammy ate bad, because her mother ate bad, and now you're teaching your children to eat bad, but you're saying this condition runs in your family. No. Poor eating habits runs in your family. Stop feeding your children foods that are slowly but surely killing them, that will give them a major health challenge as adults. Have you ever stopped to wonder why we see so many children today facing diseases that back in the day only old people used to get? There's a reason for that, people. We're feeding our kids these genetically modified foods that their bodies don't know what to do with. They're eating gluten, left, right, and center. They're eating all the bad stuff. And on top of that, they're not getting the nutrients, even though you're giving them a gummy bear, what's supposed to have nutrition in it, but it was formulated in a way that their bodies can't absorb it. Remember now, this show's about absorption today. So you're setting yourself up and you're setting your child up to be sick. Stop, people. Stop and take responsibility for your health. It's not good enough to stick your head in the sand and pretend that this is not a problem. And then the next thing we know, you out there having to do a GoFundMe page to raise money for some disease that could have been avoided had you just made some better choices. You ain't gonna like me after the show, but it is what it is. I tell you the truth. Stop training your children to eat poorly because you're setting them up to become adults with chronic disease. Okay? Now, I promised you there would be some good news. Because what you don't know, you don't know. But now that you know, there is something you can do about it, especially if you've already done damage to your body. And most people have. The good news is that God, in his infinite wisdom, created our bodies with the innate ability to heal. We are healing machines. Is that a call for the show? All right, caller, let's hear from you real quick. Welcome to GPS.
Good afternoon, Ms. Malcolm.
Hi.
I was chiming in from just after the first hour. I was trying to hurry up, get back to the shop.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always an interesting conversation. And the thing is, Miss Malcolm, you know, I wasn't mindful that one of my favorite drinks has gluten, right?
Mm-hmm.
Beer, right? So just to remind all the gentlemen out there, and so it's an additive. And so gluten occurs naturally in the grains and rye and all, et cetera, that you spoke about, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I was upset about is, Miss Malcolm, is that they extract it from other foods that contain gluten and to put it in other foods, in processed foods.
Yeah.
And so it's really frightening for me because it's a protein, and it contains, I think, gliadides and glutenin, right? And so what is frightening for me is because they're processing it like oats. Oats naturally don't have gluten in it, but they put gluten in it for binding, I guess, and bonding. So I like how you keep focusing on it because it costs me to really go into it more. You see what I'm saying?
You have to become a professional.
Because there's a study by Johns Hopkins University. Maybe you could take a look at it. I just saw it. I didn't even read it that well. So maybe another time you'll talk about it. All right, bless up.
All right, thanks so much, 52. You have to become a professional label reader because 52 is absolutely right. They put gluten in things you don't expect it to be in. So things like processed meat, hot dogs. Why are you putting gluten in hot dogs? You don't expect that to be there. But when you read the label, gluten, things like certain condiments, they might have gluten in ketchup. They hide it where you don't expect it to be. And you have to be vigilant to eat a gluten-free diet. Trust me on that. As somebody who is gluten-free, you'd be surprised to be all they hide in that thing. And beer, malts, they all contain gluten because they're made from hops, which is barley. We have a call on the line. Caller, make it quick because I want to get to my last clip.
Yeah, Michelle.
Yes.
Good afternoon. What I can mix with, because the coconut flour is gluten-free, to mix with that another flour that's gluten-free to make my banana pancakes.
Okay, so here's what I recommend. There are some flours that you have to mix other stuff for it to bind.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
there are some flours on the market that already have that binding agent mixed in there.
And it's gluten-free.
And it's gluten-free.
Okay.
So you don't have to go through all of that, mixing up this and mixing up that. I'll say one of them that I have used. Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 baking flour.
Okay.
That's a good one that is already pre-mixed, and you ain't got to worry about that. Now the only thing is, if you're making bread, you don't add any yeast to it because it doesn't work well with yeast.
Okay.
But you won't need it because the bread will rise without that.
Yeah, because ain't nothing tastes good than a good banana pancake with some blueberries.
Well, I make my banana pancakes. Sometimes I use my gluten-free flour. Sometimes I don't. I'll give you a recipe where you don't have to use any flour.
Okay.
You get yourself some bananas that aren't overripe.
Mm-hmm.
You get one egg and you whisk up the egg, and then you crush use either a fork, or if you use something like food processors, just make sure you don't process the banana too much so it's not too liquidy, but it's still got some weight to it, and you mix that with the egg. Perfect banana pancakes. Now if you want it to be a little stiffer, use a gluten-free flour.
Okay.
And perfect for every time.
Okay.
All right, but I gotta go because I want to get to my final clip. All right, but thank you for calling. All right, so finally, understand this, people. Even if you've done the damage, your body can heal. It was designed by God to heal. Let's go to our final clip.
If we get rid of all the things that are irritating the intestines, then do the intestines have the ability to heal themselves?
They actually do. Just like your skin, when you cut your skin or burn your skin, it's able to heal itself. It rebuilds itself very quickly, has a capacity to do that. Your intestine has the same capacity. When you have celiac disease, and again, this is a progressive thing, it's going to get worse and worse and worse over time. When you get up to where you're 20, 30 years old, and you have 50% of your intestines afflicted, you're going to have 20 diseases. You're going to have eczema, you're going to have asthma, you're going to have periodontal disease, you'll be infertile, low sperm count, you'll begin to get headaches, unexplained headaches. You get low blood sugar, low thyroid. You're getting bone spurs, you're getting kidney stones. All this stuff is happening, and you're going to 18 different specialists because you can't absorb those nutrients. There's nothing that says you can't have 50 different nutritional deficiencies at the same time.
Are there nutrients we can take to help the intestines heal?
Well, glucogel is a, again, very good source of collagen, okay, which is the connective tissue. And so it's a source of raw materials for the connective tissue part of the intestine to heal. You know, the things that the villi sit on is a connective tissue, essentially. It's like the foundation of a house or a slab that you build a building on.
Okay.
And that's what the connective tissue is. And all these things are actually welded to that connective tissue.
Okay.
And that connective tissue, when it gets irritated, it forms deeper and deeper and thicker scar tissue, which makes it even more difficult to absorb things through that scar tissue layer.
Kind of like a callus.
Yeah, it could be a callus, absolutely.
But if you quit irritating it, how long does it take for those things to
optimally, if you're really, really good about staying away from everything, gravies, and even making sure croutons don't find their way into your salad, and you pick the croutons up, there's still crouton dust in the salad, or you go to a health food store that sells bulk grains, and there's somebody there scooping grains into a plastic bag, and then they throw that plastic bag on the belt that takes their food to the cashier, then you put your food on there. Or maybe you're a farmer and you're gluten-free in the household, but your husband or son or somebody's been outside in their clothes mixing cattle feed that has wheat, barley, rye, or oats in it, and then they come in and they throw their clothing in the laundry with yours. You're going to be constantly exposed, even though you think you're not. And so it's very, very important to, you got to be really gluten-free to get maximum benefit. But under optimal conditions, you're avoiding everything that has gluten in it. It's going to take anywhere from 60 to 90 days to see recognizable benefit, and it might take anywhere from 6 months to a year to get perfect 100% healing.
So if you are a person who is dealing with any condition that you suspect may be a result of your inability to absorb foods, I want to encourage you not just to go gluten-free yourself, but to take your whole family off of it. It makes it a lot easier than you trying to separate your food from theirs, because chances are somebody may take, let's say, a piece of toast that they're eating from regular bread, and you may have your nut butter set aside, but they take their knife that they spread with their toast, and then they run out of their nut butter, so they go get some out of your can, out of your bottle, and they just cross-contaminated your bottle. It's just cheaper. You take the whole family off. And word to the wise, some of y'all, don't tell your husband what you're doing, yeah? Because there ain't gonna know the difference no how. Because some of them live special. Woman, I want you making no funny thing. No, you ain't got to tell them. Just switch brands. And if you prepare it right, they will never know, but they will feel better. They will get healthier. Your entire family will be walking in better health. And that's what's most important. All right? So, I hope that you got something out of the show today that will help you to make wiser decisions. Because knowledge is power only if applied. And, you could get away with not knowing, but now that you know, you've got some decisions to make. And I trust and pray that you make wise decisions so that we will become healthier as a nation, because it's not what you eat that counts. It's what you absorb. That is my time, folks. I'm Michelle Malcolm. Thank you so much for tuning in once again on this Wellness Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday, and the critical thinker, C. Alan Johnson, will be in the house because we got some very important national issues to discuss. And he always brings it, always goes deep. Don't miss tomorrow's show. Until then, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys. Be safe and have a good one.